Greetings and welcome. My name is Mike Bankhead. I am your host. I am a bass player and songwriter from the Gem City, Dayton, Ohio. This is episode 122, and I am glad to present to you a fellow bass player and a fellow resident of the Midwest, Pictoria Vark, currently based in Chicago. And Pictoria Vark just released a brand new album called Nothing Sticks. We're going to talk about that and songwriting on the You Could Be My Aramis podcast. This is one of my favorite artists that I've discovered in the last 3 to 4 years, and I think you'll love her too. Let's get to the conversation. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. How's it going?
I'm okay. I'm tired, and I say that all the time, but it never ceases to be true. How are you?
I'm good. I'm also tired. I'm trying to think of like a day, and I feel like I haven't had it since I was like a little kid of like waking up and being like, I feel so energized, like not feeling tired at all. I'm like, damn, it's been a while since I've woken up and felt that way and not wanted to like hit snooze 5 times.
I would like to tell you that that will get better as you get older, but that is not true. So I will not tell you that.
Great, at least I know.
So, dear listeners, this is the artist known as Pictoria Vark. That is Pictora space Vark. Neither of which are real words, because that's just your actual real name with the first letters switched. You are Victoria Park.
Yes.
But when we look for you on streaming services or when we look for your music online, it is under Pictoria Vark.
Mhm. Yeah, and I did that kind of because my name is not very searchable. Like if you look up Victoria Park, it's like green spaces in London and Canada.
Oh,
It is like near the university in Toronto. So I played with like a Toronto band. I think it was last fall, and they were like, "Yo, your name's Victoria Park. That's crazy." I was like, "Yeah, like that, like I'm a person." But it was so funny to watch their reaction, being like, "We used to hang out there all the time."
all right. That makes sense. That makes sense. So here's something that we have in common. Bass is our primary instrument for both of us. And you've been at this a lot longer than me. And dear listener, we're not going to get into Victoria's history and where she learned and all where she's from because she's done a whole lot of press. This is a professional musician we're talking to here. And if you really want to know that information, you can go find it from the press from her last album cycle. What I want to do though, so the question that people used to always ask me, this is the one I want to ask you, and you've probably been asked before, but people be like, so why'd you pick bass? I know what I did. Why'd you pick bass?
I so I started on guitar, and then there was like it was in some music program, and they were like, try this out, and I really fell in love with it. I really liked it. I think there's part of me that was like, because my parents were supportive of like playing piano, playing guitar, and then they were less supportive of playing bass, I have felt like I was like rebelling a little bit. Like I think I needed that to be like, no, I'm doing it just for me. That I think was part of that. I think there's also like it felt like when I was trying to play in bands and stuff, like everybody wanted to play guitar. So if I wanted to play bass, there would always be room in the band for me. I was like, I don't want to fight people to play like who's gonna play lead guitar, who's gonna like we everyone plays guitars. We have to decide between all our friends of like who's gonna play. I was like, well, I'm just gonna go in a different lane and yeah, I think that kind of ended up working out for me. It was like why I got asked to play in more bands. And over time, I also just like, I don't know, it's like the most fun instrument to play, I think, with other people. Yeah, I would love to know like your take on this question as a fellow bass player.
I used to tell people So when you're rolling in the car with your boys or your girls, as the case might be, and you want to crank the music, you are not cranking up the treble. And this is something I used to say even back when I was a teenager, even though I didn't actually buy my bass until I was 20. Like, that's what you feel. That's what moves you. That's where the groove is. So that's what I would always tell people. Now that I know a lot more about music than young me, and you know this, we bass players are the ones that really drive the bus in a band. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, the bad bass player. I mean, you can kind of cover up for you really can't cover up for a bad drummer, but you can cover up for a bad guitarist. But man, it's a really good bassist can save a band that's otherwise mediocre. And of course, we're the ones who decide what the chord really is. If you
Yep.
want to get music theory nerdy, which I also kind of like to do.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like, I think I remember one of my music teachers early on telling me it's like for you'll never notice like unless you're one of us, unless you're specifically looking for it, like really good bass playing, but you will always hear when bass is bad. It's
Yes.
like, yeah, unsung heroes. And yeah, I love that part too of like you can really like yeah, being able to basically kind of decide what the chord is, what the like underlying motion is of the melody, and it's like so imperceptible. That is really, really fun.
And so we are both bass players, we are both songwriters, but we have a very different approach to the instrument. And I really got a better appreciation for this when I saw you live. Now I listened to your records, well, your previous record, the parts that I dread is what it's called, dear listeners. And atmosphere and sparse and clearly playing chords. But I didn't really fully appreciate that till I got a chance to see you play. And not only are you playing a whole lot of chords, which I am terrible at, by the way, but also interesting uh, inversions that I would probably not otherwise have thought to play. And I thought that was really interesting. Did that come from your guitar background, or did that come from you wanting to build a bigger sonic palette when you're writing?
Yeah. So I have one specific person to shout out, and that is Jesse Williams. I took some bass lessons with him during the pandemic when I was like, again, bored in my house. I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll do some bass lessons again. And yeah, it's so obvious, or it like seems so obvious to be like, oh, if you can play bass chords, you can play bass inversions. And it was just like it just never occurred to me to like, oh wait, there's like all these other shapes that you can like access, and it changes how things sound. And so once I learned some of those shapes, I was like, okay, this is going in the songwriting immediately. There's like one specific like minor seven chord that I really like playing. That's not an inversion, but like in a new song at the end of the record, I use like a first inversion of a major chord that is basically the same shape as that like minor seven shape that I like. Like they go back and forth together really easily. You just move like one finger from one string to the other. So yeah, that was really, really cool to like uh figure some of those out. Especially when it's like the frets are so far apart there, it's like you can't do like all four of your fingers at once, kind of like doing some of the really crazy shapes jazz chords you can do on guitar. But it's cool to like have a few more in the toolbox, as you will.
So, how do you think that since we're both bass players, we don't listen to music like guitarists and we don't really think about music like guitarists? How do you think that makes your songwriting take on a unique characteristic?
I That's a great question. Well, I think for me specifically, because my voice is in a higher register and the bass is so much lower, it like kind of creates like these kind of these like starker differences I can play with. And I think why I'm like interested in, or why I like playing solo, um, yeah, with like why I like playing bass and singing over top of that. and that's often how I start writing, so I think I can hear like the full song or like a fuller direction of the song as I'm writing. What was different for this new album was like actually steering away from some of the bass chords on some of these songs and just like writing on guitar or like writing in a more straightforward bass way, which I think played to my strengths. Like it was like, oh, I just get to be like a bassist. Like if this was a song that somebody else wrote, like how would I play bass on it? And I think that's like my, you know, it's not as fun, but it is something that I feel proficient at.
I've seen you be just a bassist. I don't want to say just, because the second time I saw you on tour, you were touring with two Minnesota bands and you were filling in on bass for one, which is kind of interesting. Like I got to see you play your stuff the very non-standard way that you do, which I really appreciate as a bass player. And then I got to see you like do the thing that all of us do, and it looked like you were having a lot of fun that night. That was at Cafe Roomba in Columbus. I know on tour you go to a lot of places. It's really hard to remember. That's one of my favorite rooms in our state. So it's a good place for me to go see shows when I want to see somebody.
Yeah, no, that was super fun and like I that was the first time I was playing with Early Eyes. And that tour was so crazy. Like their bassist called out pretty last minute, and I was like out of a job at that point, and they play a really long set. Play for like an hour. And they were like, "Hey, you don't have a job. Do you want to like learn like 20 songs and come on tour with us for 3 weeks?" And that's what happened. They're really all like such wonderful people, and the songs are really fun to play. Like they have a lot of like really interesting like jazzy kind of harmony approaches, and that kind of being worked with some other a whole bunch of other genres too.
So let's nerd out on songwriting a little bit. We
Yeah.
brushed up against it, but we're gonna go super nerdy because this is why I like talking to songwriters. All of us kind of get to the same place eventually, but no two songwriters do it the same way. So it never gets old for me to figure out how do you go about this. So for you, when it is time to write, what is the first tool that you're reaching for?
Ooh. I am probably I think it depends on the mood or the day. I think I'm sometimes what will happen is like I'll get an idea or like a lyric and that'll go in the like phone notes app if that's, if I'm just walking around, like if I'm not planning on writing. But if I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna work on something, I think I'll usually go for bass and then kind of work out some of those lyrics. But I've been really interested in trying to like go for guitar first more, just seeing what that looks like. But I feel like usually, yeah, it's like phone notes app number one. Yeah, what
Yeah,
about you?
it depends on the song for me, and also depends on why I'm writing. So sometimes I'll write to a prompt, and if the prompt has to do with lyrics, then obviously I'm going to start there. Uh, I also do a lot of voice memos. In fact, I try to take a day every 4 or 5 months to like clean them out. I have not gotten them all, but like I'll get through 10 or 15, and it's either, oh, I was 3 in the morning and I was incoherent when I left myself this message. I have no idea what I was trying to tell myself. We'll delete this one. Or, oh, that's really hooky. I'm surprised I thought of that. Let me see if I can write around this. I hate to cop out with it depends, but it depends. Specific to this new record, you mentioned about playing more bass like a normal bass player. Did you test out these songs in front of an audience first while you were writing the record, or were you just building the project and going to ease into that later? There's a reason for this question, but I want to get your answer first.
Yeah, there are a lot of songs that we were playing live kind of leading up to it. The ironic thing is none of the singles were songs that I think I played San Diego. I think I played yeah, San Diego once at the end of last year. I'd never played I Pushed It Down live. And then Make Me a Sword, I like brought on, we played for like two shows on tour and then we didn't really touch it after that. So it's so funny to be like leading with songs that I hadn't played before when other ones I have. But I love playing, like trying the new stuff out. Yeah, that's definitely super informative.
Me too. And the reason I asked that is the first record I put out, I had never played any of those songs live until it was time for rehearsal for my release show. And I had a room full of the best musicians in my city playing these songs for me. And I discovered that I couldn't sing most of those songs and play at the same time because I wrote them
Separately.
separately and I knew I was going to go to the studio, and being able to sing while playing those bass riffs was not something I had in mind. So a couple of them are a lot more complicated than they probably need to be. They sound cool, but like I never thought about, oh, I got to be able to sing this. And so since then, I've always taken the song out to an open mic or played it for friends or played shows, and bass it has made my bass parts on the record simpler because you got to be able to sing and remember the words and try not to be pitchy. But I think it serves the song better. And I was just curious about how you deal with that because we're starting with the same tool kind of.
Yeah, I think it's actually trickier to play bass and sing than play guitar and sing or play piano and sing because I feel like with guitar it's like you can kind of just strum and like make that automatic, whereas like bass, if your bass part is locking into like a specific kick drum pattern or like you're trying to lock into a drummer and the vocals are doing something totally different, like that is like patting your head and like rubbing your stomach at the same time,
Yep.
or it's like you kind of just have to like activate both of those at once. I think for me, yeah, it's like it changes kind of what, like I'm not doing a lot of insane like rhythmic stuff at the times that I'm playing, or like I'm not doing a lot of complicated riffs as I'm singing. I think that's the main thing that it impacts. The other thing too, which drives my band crazy, but to me I'm just like it's so normal, everything's fine, is that sometimes when I write around certain lyrics, it tends to like follow the lyric meter as opposed to like the bar, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, there will be an extra bar of two, and that only happens this one time. You just have to know where it is based on what the words are. So to me, it's very intuitive to follow because I'm the one singing it. But if you're just playing drums or you're playing guitar, you have to like feel that rhythm. That can be a little awkward. Yeah.
I bet it's fun for them to have to try to chart that.
Yeah, I'm like, you guys, it's so funny too, also, because I'm like, I'm really lucky to play with really talented people and people who like can figure a lot of stuff out on their own. Um, and also being like, what the guitar is playing is kind of none of my business right now. Like, I can't always, I'm not always the best help at like if they have questions for me. There was in the studio when they were transcribing like the guitar changes for I Pushed It Down, they were like, Victoria, what's the chord here? And I'm like, so I'm playing the note F, and you guys can figure out what the rest of that means.
All right. That's I was gonna ask that too, and you got to without me having to ask. So when I do demos at home now, that when I started I did not, but I put piano in my demos because I don't the guitarists need to hear the whole chord, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I know if it's supposed to be a suspended without, and I'll just play like on my bass, and sometimes I might play the fourth in a sus4 chord because I'm weird like that. But like a guitarist doesn't know when I'm doing something crazy, and again, another experience from my first record. There were times when the guitarist was like, that note you're playing doesn't work. It works fine. Just play this chord over it. So that's how I've solved it. Is but I might be a little bit more of a control freak when it comes to chord choices than you are.
Yeah, I think for me it's like as to me I'm like I yeah, I like leaving kind of some of that room open of like, or what I like about bass too is like if you have just like two notes together, like your vocal melody and whatever note the bass is playing, there's room for the chord to be a couple different things.
Mhm.
And then figuring out which is the smartest choice of the options you have, I feel like is an interesting way to think about songwriting. And also, it's like you don't have to make that choice necessarily for the song to like exist, you know? Like you can still have the song and like kind of leave that open to interpretation without, yeah, and you're like you can kick that rock down the road a little bit. I'm curious, wait, what did you end up doing for your release show when you said you couldn't like sing and play those bass parts at the same time?
So I played bass on I think three of the songs from that record,
Mhm.
and had one of my favorite bassists in town do the rest. And he was, first of all, we have a lot of really good bassists in our town for a town of our size. Musician wise, Dayton, Ohio punches far above its weight. But I have three or four favorite bass players in our town, and I picked one of them who's a whole lot more talented than I am, and had he didn't have problem with most of it, except for there were a couple of them where he was like, dude, like he couldn't follow what I was thinking with the song. And listeners, if you want to hear that one, that was North of 16 for my first record. That bass line, I'm very proud of it, but it's weird. I'm not gonna, and there's no way I would ever be able to play that and sing. And some of the ways I would get from one chord to another didn't make any sense to my friend that I had play the bass on the song. And I remember having to like literally go to his house and sit down and show him how I played it. And he was like, that's okay. I would never have thought that, because even among bass players, I guess I don't think about it a normal way.
Yeah, that's a great solution. Instead of being like, well, I guess it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
To just be like, cool, I'm gonna sing and someone else can play bass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know this is supposed to be about you, but I think I might drop that song into the into the podcast so people can hear it.
You came to me on a cool March night like any other. You said your piece, then I watched you drive away. Said your goodbye. Sorry that I couldn't save you. You came to me, didn't hear what you meant to say. Bathed in exhaust, closed your eyes and went to sleep. Innocence lost, never could you find your way north of 16. Your laugh for me was just a mask to hide the maelstrom. You said your piece, I didn't see your secret pain. Said your goodbye, always thought I could have saved you. Your laugh for me wasn't quite what you meant to say. Bathed in exhaust, closed your eyes and went to sleep. Innocence lost, never could you find your way north of 16. 16. The last time that I ever saw you, you were serene, gold upon your plush repose. Bathe in exhaust, closed your eyes and went to sleep. Innocence lost, never could you find your way. Bathe in exhaust, closed your eyes and went to sleep. Innocence lost, never could you find your way. North of 16, north of 16, north of 16, north of 16. North of 16, north of 16, north of 16, north of 16.
But I want to do that with one of yours too. And let me do one with something off of the previous record. Do you have a preference of which one I drop into the podcast?
No,
No?
whichever one you feel like. Yeah.
All right. I think it might be Twin.
Wow.
Is
Yeah.
that the one that you're playing that F sharp minor, but with the A on the bottom?
Oh my gosh. This is Twin is the one with like it starts with the harmonics.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what I noticed during the show. I remember watching you play and looking at those notes and being like, that doesn't make any sense with what else she's playing unless it's an inverted F sharp minor. Oh. And then I asked you about it afterwards, and you were like, "That's right." And then I felt smart for like 5 seconds.
Greetings from the editing process. I am glad to present to you Twin, the opening track to Pictoria Vark's previous album, The Parts I Dread.
Born on the same fateful day in June, I was an hour ahead of you. Watching your eyes, examining mine, I couldn't wait to get old with you. Our friendship came so easily. We were so stupid at 17. Jump out the window, Mom never said so. You saved my ass reluctantly. We shared the same dead punk rock dreams. You played guitar, we tore up the scene. Like Jeff and Cyrus, nothing went by us, destined for infinity. Wait for you to disappear. Wait for you to disappear. Wait for you to disappear.
So how do you know, Victoria, when a song's done?
How do I know when a song is done? It's really, this is so interesting to me because I would have this conversation with John O'Brien, who you know, um, who yeah, we're still friends. We
That's
are
good.
not yeah, we're not dating anymore, but that's okay. Like it, we're on really good terms. We still talk quite a bit. Um, but sometimes it's like when I would finish a song and I would send it to him, and he'd be like he's like for him songwriting and production are synonymous, or like sometimes that those two things, like he's like a song isn't done until it's recorded and produced. I think partly because he has like he grew up listening to a lot of like techno music, and stuff
Hmm.
like that, where it's like that he works in Ableton, like that is so much also like considered part of the writing process. And to me, it's like a song is done if you can play it live front to back in the exact same way more than once. Like I think that is kind of like the difference between like something that is improvised versus something that like is concrete. So I think as long as it can like be performed end to end, like to me, that is the song. That's when the writing part is done. Yeah.
That's the best answer I've ever had someone give me to that question. And I think I agree with you. I don't want to say that I don't think that fully producing songs is important. But again, as an old guy, my idea of what production is and your generation's idea of what production is not the same thing. And yeah, I write my songs with a full band arrangement. So when I write them in my head, at some point I'm expecting multiple guitars, perhaps an organ or some kind of keys, full drum kit. But I don't have that when I go play my local curated open mic or songwriter showcase. I have my bass or a keyboard and me. And that song might live in a different way when it gets to be recorded, but like I'll play it for a room full of people and I feel like that makes me able to report it out to BMI. That's a live performed song, so that means it's done.
Yeah.
I like your answer, but I can understand how somebody who's used to living in the box wouldn't necessarily feel that way because you wouldn't be able to show people your song if you didn't produce it
Yeah.
unless you learned it on an instrument, right?
Yeah, totally. It's like it's so genre dependent too, I think. Like if you are someone who is like songwriter in like very much like 60s, 70s sense, where it's like if you're thinking about like Stevie Nicks or whoever, and it's like where the song can just like exist on its own with one person singing and one person like playing it. Yeah, to me that's like I think it's also a question of like when do you stop working on a song? Like when are you done tweaking things? And I think for me it's like only like I'm pretty good at not overworking things, I like to think. Like I think I will tweak things a lot, or will tweak like little details, will change lines like or work on one specific line for a couple months, after the song is like done. But I think at a certain point you also just have to be like, it's not going to be perfect. Like there's not much more to change that will make it better. I think it's like how if you can't make any more changes that make this that improve the song, then I think your song is done. Like even if you make changes that make it different but the same, then it's like just then you're just driving yourself crazy.
Yep. And that reminds me of something that Dan Wilson said. He's a Minnesota songwriter, for those of you who might not know. And if you're a music nerd, you of course know who that is, but your everyday person does not. But Dan Wilson said that the song is done when you can't take anything else out of it and have
Ooh.
it still work, right? I'm like, I like that too. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we overdo it as musicians.
Yeah. Like I think about it, if you think about it in terms of painting, and oh my gosh, I don't think I could be a painter because it's like so many times, I don't know, it's like if you are like, oh, let me just change this one thing, and then you do a couple more brushstrokes and you're like, wait, actually I want it to go back, and it's like you can't go back. You have to like fix it, and then it can be worked on so much that it's like you kind of already lost, the
Yep.
thing.
So the new album is called Nothing Sticks. You
Mhm.
mentioned the three singles. Those are San Diego, I Pushed It Down, and Make Me a Sword. I watched two of those videos today. I have not watched the I Pushed It Down video yet.
Oh, there's no I pushed it down video, so you're
That's
all
why I haven't seen it. Okay, good.
good.
San Diego's a pretty cool town, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I love it there. The video we shot in Iowa, and I like that juxtaposition.
You could not get any more different weather-wise, culture-wise. Did you go to San Diego on tour, or have you been there just like to go?
Only on tour.
I'm very jealous. I've been to go to other shows. I feel like national touring bands like to go to San Diego because it's so pleasant.
It
And
is really nice. Like, it's just so good. I want to go just to hang out, honestly. Like,
yeah,
I really want to go and like go paddle boarding. Like, that's kind of I'm trying to go to just hang out next time.
it's such a long way from the Midwest, though. It is so far.
Mhm.
Um, so your generation, this is what the industry people tell me, don't believe in albums anymore, but you do. So why do you believe in albums where a lot of your peers do not?
I think it depends on the genre. Like, I think in kind of the rock indies or like rock and like singer-songwriter kind of veins. Maybe more so like rock indie whatever. I think things that are very like band focused. It kind of still fits in that like album thing because it's part of a longer tradition of like the album as like a thing that people care about, people own, people like part of the building a discography. Um and I think that also is because I have like I don't know. I think that's mainly it. But there's a lot of if you're like a TikTok like kind of songwriter or if you're like a hip hop artist, like those things are less contingent on that. And it makes more sense to just like do a whole bunch of singles, do like 10 singles. I think I don't know. I just like albums. I
Me
like
too.
things as just like having a theme that like unites them, like putting the songs together has always just like made sense to me and I don't know. It feels very classic.
I agree. I believe in the album as an art form, and I think you really get to know an artist better if you buy an album and listen to it in order in one sitting the way the artist intended. I mean, you sequence the songs this way for a reason.
Mhm.
So, as listeners, we should probably listen to it in the order that you sequenced it. Let's talk about when it's out. When's the official release date for Nothing Sticks?
It is on March 21st on 321 of this year, so in a couple weeks from now.
And you're doing two release shows. One of
Yes.
them is in Brooklyn. Where is that?
That's at Baby's All Right on March 30th.
And the other one is in Chicago, which is where you live, at the Empty Bottle, and that is on April 13th, if memory serves.
Yes, it is on April 13th at the bottle.
Same band for both shows?
No, so New York, I'm bringing in my friends Jason and Gavin, who recorded on Parts I Dread. Gavin also co-produced Nothing Sticks with me. And I'm driving out or flying, I haven't decided yet, with my drummer from Chicago. And then Chicago, I have a band that includes my drummer, but a whole bunch of musicians in town who are so talented. We have two live string players, which will be
Oh,
really
nice.
special. So it's going to be like my biggest band to date, five-piece.
I
Crazy.
noticed on San Diego, definitely some strings in that, which were, I'm gonna assume that they were recorded live by actual people.
Yes.
That is so cool. I believe in actual people playing actual instruments whenever possible. Do you have plans to? I know touring is very expensive these days, but do you have plans to get back onto the road later this year?
I do. I'll be playing on the West Coast in June. Those dates haven't been announced yet, but I think the first one's being announced on Friday, this Friday, which so yeah, I'll be doing some June shows on the West Coast and yeah, hopefully more, but nothing super concrete past then.
It's we talked about this in person when we weren't being recorded, but it's a whole lot of work. What you do taking the music to the people on the road.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, everything's so expensive now, you know. It's not just like gas, it's like people just have less money to go to shows now.
Yeah.
And so people are having to be more particular with what they're spending their time and money on. And that's harder when you're like a small artist just trying to break through.
Yep. I feel though that for artists that, at least this is my case, for artists that I resonate with, I'm willing to part with some of my hard-earned money to support them. I still buy CDs, I still buy vinyl, I still go to live shows when I can, and hopefully, obviously, as musicians, those are the kind of people we want to find, right? Those are the kind of people that we want to meet, and we want them to come to our shows. So, dear listeners, go to Victoria's website, which is pictoriavark.com.
So you're gonna laugh. My website is victoriaparkbase.com.
All right, let me fix that. victoriaparkbase.com, or you can go to her Bandcamp, which is pictoriavark.bandcamp.com. And I'm sure between those two places, you'll find tour announcements and you can get your hands on the new record, which is available for pre-order right now, strangely enough, on both cassette and on vinyl and digital. I'll compact this time around, but nothing in the world is perfect. All right. So last official, this is the question I ask in my podcast question. And I stole this from a different podcast. What did your childhood smell like?
Oh, wow. I have never been asked this question. Wow. Okay, what did my childhood smell like? I feel like my childhood room has like a specific scent that I wish I could like describe or recreate, but it's like wooden furniture and also like like sunlight. I don't know, it just feels very like sunny and warm. My dad was a really big cook, so or he would always be making a lot of like food.
Like bulgogi and kimchi, perhaps?
Not like oh yes, some of that we never made kimchi from scratch. We would always just buy it because that's a whole messy process. But he would also make like chicken cacciatore and oh my gosh, like really good Italian food. Um, Boeuf bourguignon, like some French
Nice.
stuff. Yeah, he was like, this is before I stopped eating meat, so this is like that is like what I'm remembering from that. But yeah, I'm like trying to remember my childhood bedroom. It's like has like kind of a wooden furniture, light, airy kind of smell is the best way I could describe it. Wow.
It's a good question. Sometimes that leads to a lengthy story, and that is why I stole it from a defunct dating podcast who I miss. Since I am cheap and I'm on the free Zoom, we don't have very much more time, which makes me sad. But we will talk again in the future. Is there anything you'd like to tell listeners in 30 seconds or less before we end the conversation?
No, just that I hope you like the new record. Um, yeah, and thank you, Mike, for having me. This was such a delightful conversation.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy prepping to do album release stuff schedule to talk to me. Dear listener, Nothing Sticks, once again, out on March 21st.
Yes.
Thank you very much to Victoria, who again records under the name Pictoria Vark. Thank you, Victoria, for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me. It's a lot of work preparing to release an album. I know how that works, and I'm glad that we could have this conversation. Thank you, dear listener, for being here. And hey, you can get Pictoria Vark's new album, Nothing Sticks, right now. You can listen to it for free on streaming, or you can pick it up on her Bandcamp page in vinyl form or in cassette form. It's very good. I think you'll like it. And if you are located in New York City or Chicago, why not stop by and check out one of her 2 release show celebrations?